Yeah, so hopefully throughout the course of this conference, you've seen like we have shipped a lot of stuff with a really small team. Is that apparent? Is that my lying? Is that kind of crazy? You're like, oh no, that's actually not a lot of stuff. Okay, cool, great. Yeah, you never know. I sit in my pajamas and I code. I don't really have anybody to compare myself to. So yeah, we have shipped a lot of stuff. And so we have had to have a lot of leverage for whatever we're doing. We did not have insane amounts of funding to start out with to just like hire gigantic teams to go after all of this stuff. And so we had to take pretty big risks on ways to move faster. So when AI came along, and specifically what I'm going to talk to you about right now is AI in development, we took really big risks that bigger organizations would never take simply because we're fighting for survival. We're fighting for the right to exist in this market. Every day, that fight is far from over, right? We are talking about bigger, more aggressive bets. Andrew, you know what I'm talking about, right? Like we're gonna go even bigger for even, a more aggressive, more powerful version of Chipp. And I'm gonna show you the engine behind that innovation and how we do it. So I've got two things here. I have Cursor and I have Claude Code. We pretty much A/B test these things every day because these two teams are consistently launching new things that speed development up in one way or another. And I'm constantly switching back and forth. What we do is I actually have an MCP tool called Zen Think Deeper. This is going to be a very short talk, so just like take notes and keep up research later. So Zen Think Deeper, which is what I do when I need to create a new feature. Something we just launched was usage-based billing in Stripe. If you go to the Stripe documentation, they are so on the frontier of this. There is a copy for LLM button, right? They know that people are building this way, right? And so I will copy that documentation, throw it into, my Claude Code editor here, and I will say things like implements token billing for the pro tier of our users, and I'll pass it a link to the documentation, or I'll have it actually be a design partner, and I'm going to do like cooking show style. I'm just going to show you what the result of that kind of a thing is. I'll have it output like an implementation report. This is a markdown file that the LLM will just spit out, and it'll give me an architecture review of what it thinks needs to happen, right? So now I've got a large high-level document. Here's the thing, context engineering. Who has heard of something called context engineering? Right, the Google guys have. That's always a good sign. Yeah, so it's a good idea if he raises his hand. And so it's like you can fill context up. You only have so many tokens, right? So we talk about these high context models that have like 120,000 tokens. You can only fit so much information into the thinking space of these LLMs before you're just completely out of room, right? So that's where your data getting compacted and everything. So you really need to be able to be very specific about what you're trying to do. And the art of AI in development is figuring out a high-level plan that you can decompose into a bunch of small niche things where only the information you need to execute on that small thing is in the context window. So I take a high-level plan like this, I have it say, hey, what are the endpoints what are the files that I need to touch, right? So you see I have in my high-level plan a couple lists of two files here. And then I will go into, I will say in Claude Code is typically where I live. I will say, I will copy my file path here to my high-level document. And so this is like step 1 and then step 2. And so what I will do is I will say load into context. And I will say, hey, I will link to the markdown file that contains my high-level report that I've generated. Understand that the context may have been filled when it creates that high-level plan. It's reading files and everything to create that high-level plan. So I've done a form of compaction for my development process just by creating that one markdown file. And then I only load that one markdown file, which was a result of a previous process, into the context, right? It read 344 lines, which is not gonna, take up a bunch of context at all. And I will say, and it's like, hey, it's ready. It's like, what would you like to know or work on? And I'll be like, this isn't gonna go great because thankfully we have already implemented usage, right? We got it done. So I will say implement, step 1, which would be, this step right here. And it'll run off and it'll start implementing that step. Now, it could fill up the entire context window in the course of implementing step 1, right? Which means I now have to, do /clear, and then I will have to load that high level document in again, and then do the same thing for step 2. So I'm not gonna take up a ton of time, but this is the 1-2 step process that we use to get a lot done. Here's the thing, this is one computer. I have 3 laptops. I do one Claude Code agent on one laptop. I have 2 more laptops where I run 2 more Claude Code agents, and this is why we raise venture capital, right? I buy 2 more Claude Max plans, and then we just churn through a bunch of tokens, writing lots of code, and I have 3 of these laptops that I use to just implement all this stuff. We're gonna do email agents. Guess what? We're gonna do voice mode. Guess what? We're gonna do usage-based billing, right? And there's a 4-person team, right? And so we just move really, really, really quickly. Part of my work has been to kind of document this process and, transfer it to other members of the team as we're like scaling our operations.